too much to do and not enough time to do it. It is an eternal problem that those of us who are authors or entrepreneurs running your own business, trying to make your goals come true in the world, it's just true for all of us. There's this huge list of things that we need to be doing to move our businesses forward, to see our goals come to life, to get the results that we want. And we have less and less time to get it done. More demands, and even the more successful we become, the more demands there are on our time. So what's the solution? How do we get out of this cycle of constantly feeling overwhelmed and stressed and getting behind? I have 3 simple steps for you today that are going to help you get out of this cycle. So let's get started. More often than not, this feeling of always being behind, like you're going to be too late, like you're not getting enough done, like there's just too much on your plate to handle, that you're just not following through, or you're disappointing people all the time. If that's you and that resonates, like you could raise your hand right now in the comments. If that's you, it's most likely coming from the fact that you have more on your plate than you have time to get it all done. Or it could be the fact that you are putting so much on your plate because you don't really know what's going to be the most effective for you. So you're trying everything. You're watching what everyone else is doing, and you're just trying a little bit of all of it. And it could also be that you're trying a lot of things and you're just not seeing the results you want, which then makes you feel a panic around, what if I never see these results? What if I'm going to work this hard my whole life and never see the results that I want to see from all this hard work? So it could be any of those factors that are leading to this feeling of overwhelm. So how do we solve it? How do we get out of this cycle of always feeling like we're too late, we're disappointing people, we're too far behind, we're never going to get it all done? Well, I have 3 simple steps for you today that will start you down the path toward healing this cycle, towards feeling better and embracing more joy in the process as you get more done and start to see your dreams come true. So I'm going to give you these 3 steps today, and you can start implementing it right away. So the first one is to match your time with your tasks. And this isn't necessarily difficult, but it is eye-opening. So let me show you what I mean by this. For most of us, when we start planning out our day, we're either doing it in our heads and we just have this running to-do list of all the things that need to get done. Or for some of us, we're writing it down on a piece of paper, or maybe we have it in a planner if you're extra organized or you like that kind of thing. Or maybe it's in a checklist in some kind of Asana or a task list online or something like that. But a lot of times you have a general idea of all the things you want to get done. So I want you to think forward, since today you might be watching this in the evening or whatever, but think forward to your next sort of busy work day. It could be tomorrow, it could be at the start of next week, and just jot down for yourself a list of all the things that you can think of that you need to get done. And this could be your personal stuff, or you could just keep it to work stuff, your goal-oriented type stuff. Just sit down and make a list of all the things that you've been holding in your head or that are on your task list. So just as an example, it could be, you're going to do a YouTube video, you're going to post to social media, maybe you're going to answer some emails, maybe you have to mail something out. Maybe you need to, you're going to have like a Zoom meeting with a partner or, friend or something like that. Maybe you also were really wanting to take a few videos of that course you wanted to do. You wanted to exercise. Maybe you got to make sure you clean the kitchen and you got to get that laundry done. And this doesn't even include the fact that you have to pick the kids up, or that you've got to take your dad into his appointment, or, all these other things. So let's say you make this list of all the things you want to get done. When most of us are planning our day, it's either happening in our head or on a list somewhere, and we just think about the things that need to get done. It's a rare person among us that really stops and thinks about how long each of these things is going to take. But what happens for so many of us is we have the list, and then at the end of the day, we feel like we worked all day, we've exhausted ourselves, and maybe only 3 things on this list are actually checked off. And for most of us, it's a rare day that we actually got through everything we intended to get through. And when you stack day after day after day, that you only get a small portion of your work done, it can start to feel overwhelming because you can say to yourself, oh my gosh, I worked as hard as I could. I'm hustling. I'm working to the point of almost wanting to cry some days. And I still only got 3 things done on my list. Like, what's wrong with me? And we blame ourselves, and we actually expend a lot of our personal energy beating ourselves up and trying to push ourselves harder. And then half the things on this list get migrated to tomorrow's list. And then maybe we have 5 days in a row where the kitchen didn't get clean. And now we feel like we're lazy, we're a slob. What's wrong with us? Everyone else can keep their kitchen clean. So if any of this sounds familiar, it might be a little too dramatic for some of you, or you might have an even worse situation. So we're all kind of on a spectrum with this. So what I want you to do is make that list of your next kind of busy day and all the things that you would expect yourself to get done. But then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to estimate how long you think it will take you to actually get each of these items done to completion, to the point where you feel like you can check it off. And, ideally, where you will feel proud of the work you did. Not that you were rushing through it, or that you were hustling, or that you didn't get it done the way you wanted, but like to get it done the way that you would expect it to get it done when you put it on your list. Now, you could do this any number of ways, but the way I like to do this is what I call task blocks. So task block is one 30-minute block of time. So you might be familiar with this, that some people call it the Pomodoro method. In the Pomodoro method, usually it's 25 minutes of work with a 5-minute break. And then every 4 sessions or something like that, you take a longer break. This is pairs with that, but it's not exactly the same thing. So you can set it up any way you want. Your task block is your period of time. It could be that you work for 20 minutes and take a 10-minute break every hour, or it could be that you work for 4 task blocks in a row before you take a break at all. It doesn't really matter. The point is that a task block is a 30-minute segment of time. So that means there's 2 task blocks to every hour in your day. So in the course of a day, you have 48 task blocks a day. Of course, most of those you're going to be sleeping, or many of those you'll be sleeping. So in this list here, if you take each item individually, how long do you think it will take you to do each one? And really try to not think about how long do I wish it would take me? In a perfect world, if I had all the tools and all the energy in the world, how long will it take me? But think, on a typical day for myself, with the current tools, the current energy, the current motivation that I have, how long is it going to take me to do a good job and complete this process? And how long it takes you to clean the kitchen one day might be different than a different day if you have less energy. But for now, let's just say on an average day, how long? So YouTube video, sometimes when we make our lists, we make just a really big project into one item on the list. Whereas really these things aren't all equal, because exercising might take us 20 minutes, but finishing a YouTube video might take us 6 hours, right? So these aren't always equal. And we'll talk about that later in the video. But when I think about a YouTube video, I'm going to go through the process of everything I have to do to get this video completed, which means maybe outlining it, recording it multiple times, editing it, moving the files over to a different computer, whatever it might be, uploading it to YouTube, making a newsletter list. And if I want to actually check this off my list that I got it done, it needs to actually be up live on YouTube. So for me, that's going to take me probably 4 to 5 hours. So I'm going to say 9 task blocks, which would be 4.5 hours for that. So try to be actually realistic. And a lot of times what you'll notice is that because you want to get everything done, you try to almost convince your mind that you can do it faster than you can. But I encourage you to really be realistic here and meet yourself where you are. So posting to social media, maybe that takes 1 task block. Maybe it takes you a task block to catch up on your emails. Sending out mail though, to actually package that up and drive back and forth, that's going to take 2. A Zoom meeting is going to be an hour, so that's 2 task blocks. Maybe I wanted to spend an hour and a half on this course, so that's 3 task blocks, 1 task blocks of exercise, 1 task block to clean the kitchen, and maybe 2 task blocks for laundry because I want to actually get them folded and put away. Actually, that might be 3 depending on the day. But let's say you do this and you're like, okay, so now I've got them all estimated. But then what I want you to do is I want you to count them all up and see how much time you're expecting yourself to work today. So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So this is 22 task blocks, which if you divide that into so that you get the hours, That's 11 hours worth of work in the day. And that doesn't include any downtime, any time to go to the bathroom, any time to eat your meals, any time to pick the kids up from school or to go outside and take a walk. Is this realistic for you most days that you could actually get 11 hours worth of work in? Your number might be different. Your situation might be different. But I would bet that a lot of you, if you actually followed through with this, would find that you are putting more on your plate than you can actually get done. If I put 11 hours worth of work on my plate every day, there's no way it would all get done. So I would end up maybe getting the video done and some emails, and then everything else would be undone. And then I would think, what's wrong with me that I only got 2 things done? And then that energy, when I show up the next day and it happens again, is just stacking negative momentum, stacking I don't want to say self-loathing, but kind of like self-deprecation, self-disappointment. And then what about the people I didn't get to meet for the meeting and the course I promised people? And what about the way I feel when I get up and think, gosh, there's another day I didn't exercise, and the worry that comes along with what if I don't have a healthy heart because I'm not exercising? Like, there's a million things. Or seeing that your house isn't clean the way that you want it to be, and that doesn't give you energy. It makes you feel like you're not getting enough done. And when we stack enough of this constant expectation and pressure with an unrealistic expectation of what we can get done and how much time we have, but we aren't actually aware of the disparity between this time, that's where we end up feeling overwhelmed, out of power, depressed, hard on ourselves, and all those things. And it's one thing to do it for one day, but when you zoom out and you see that a whole week you've just been stacking days like this where you don't actually have enough time to get it all done because you're putting too much on your plate, that's where you can start to see why you feel like your life is so difficult, because it is, because you're just setting yourself up for an impossible scenario. Like, there will never be more time just because you wish it was there. You will never create time just because your to-do list was long. Like, the time is the time, and you get as much done as you can. And your expectation plays a lot into how much you can actually get done. Now, when I plan my days, I'm a planner person. So yours doesn't have to look like this, and it may not you may not want it to look like this. This might be something that gives you anxiety. But for me, what has been helping is, whether you make a list like this or you put it into a planner, is taking a look at how much time do I actually have available. So if it's Thursday today, I could go through my schedule and I could say, where do I have time today that's not already committed? So I have this meeting here. Maybe I know I want to exercise here. I've got to pick the kids up here. Where do I have time that I feel like working on my goals that I know I can actually dedicate to it? And then I identify that time on my calendar, 5 task blocks here, 3 here, 2 here, and I add them up. And I say, okay, on a typical day, today, I have 10 task blocks available. So instead of just making a list and expecting myself to get it all done with no awareness of how long it's going to take, I actually decide first, how much time do I have today? And that's the first thing I do. And then I turn around and say, okay, what can I get done in 10 task blocks? So then when I look at this list, I know this is unrealistic, and I can say, what are my top priorities? Okay, the YouTube video has to get done, and that's going to be 9 out of my 10. So what else on this list is most important for me to get done? Maybe it's just to clean the kitchen. Maybe the kitchen's gone too long. Or maybe, as we'll talk about in the next part of this video, maybe I can get my husband to clean the kitchen and do the laundry today, and I can make sure I get this exercise in today. And these are my 10 task blocks, and that's all the time I have for today. But then when I finish the day and I checked off those 2 most important things, I'm a winner. And I feel excited, and I know I chose the most important things, and I made progress instead of looking at this list and feeling like I failed, or I didn't follow through, or I disappointed myself yet again. So one of the first things that you can do for yourself, for your mental health, for your joy, for your productivity, and for your sustainability in life and towards your goals, is to begin to match up your time, your actual available time, with the tasks that you expect yourself to get done. So how many of you immediately saw that you're putting more on your plate than you could possibly get done in the amount of time you have? This is really one of the main things that I see over and over again with people is that instead of planning for the time that we have and being realistic about how much time things will take, we instead just focus on what needs to get done. So we'll create a task list and we'll say, this is what I have to get done today. And we pay no mind to whether it's actually realistic to expect ourselves to perform all of those tasks in a single day. So what we often see is that we have, let's say, 6 or 7 hours worth of tasks once we estimate it all out, but we only have 2 hours of free time. But because we're not actually mentally aware of that disparity, we just have a list of expectations and we push ourselves as hard as we can for those 2 hours. And then we end up disappointed because half the things didn't get done. We have them promised. We feel like it's our fault. And we begin to blame ourselves and wonder, why am I not seeing the results I want? And it's because we're not actually following through with the tasks that we planned to complete. Or if by some miracle you actually did manage to get 7 hours worth of tasks done in 2 hours, it's likely that you were pushing yourself beyond a limit of what's healthy. You were cutting corners potentially. You were rushing the work. It wasn't potentially filled with the joy and excitement and magnetism of really just loving and putting your passion into your work because you had all this time pressure on your shoulders. And then over time, putting 7 hours worth of work into 2 hours day after day after day is not sustainable, even if you were skilled enough or you were able to really push yourself hard enough to get it done once. Over time, it begins to erode your joy, your passion, your health, and all of those things begin to suffer. And once our joy, our passion, our health, and our belief in ourselves and how we feel about ourselves and the things we say about ourselves begins to deteriorate, then those 2 hours that we have to work every day or whatever your situation is becomes harder and harder to get more done because we're putting so much pressure and we have so much stress. Like, have you ever woken up one day and you just felt so good and you realized that like you put on your headphones and you got the whole house cleaned and this got done and this got done and this errand got done? You were like, wow, that was just a really exciting, focused day. And you were feeling good the whole time. But then on the opposite side of that, have you ever had a day where you just didn't feel good and you're stressed and you forced yourself to get tasks done on your list and it felt like everything was taking forever and none of it turned out any good? Well, when we feel good, when we're happy, when we're excited about what we do, when we feel good, we get more done. And I understand that there are some of us that can't always get to a place of feeling good because we have chronic illness or we deal with anxiety or other things in our lives. But when we pile on top of that extra stress, beating ourselves up, constantly putting more on our plate than is humanly possible because we feel like we have to get it done, all we're doing is punishing ourselves and putting ourselves deeper into the hole. Sometimes I like to see this as a game. Okay, I have 8 task blocks available. What can I realistically get done in 8 task blocks? Let's make it fun and see how much I can get done rather than, I can't get it all done. There's too much. Match your tasks with your available time and you'll start to see that it was never you all along. There was never anything wrong with you. You were just literally putting more on your plate than you could humanly do. And let me tell you, many of us, especially if you're an overachiever or Enneagram 3 like me, or you put a lot of pressure on yourself to achieve your goals, you're going to find that sometimes when you start to get realistic, you have a mourning period of, I can't only get this done. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is like a heavy truth bomb to drop here for those of you that are like this, that are like me, is that you weren't getting it done anyway. You feel like you have to get it done, so you put it on your plate and you push yourself and you push yourself and you push yourself, but it wasn't getting done effectively anyway. So continuing to put it on your plate and feel like you have to is really just punishing yourself. The other thing is, more time will not magically appear just because you feel like you need it to. It never has worked in the past and it will never work in the future. You cannot continue to put 7 hours worth of work into 2 hours of time or a full year's worth of work into the next 3 months. You can't do it. It's not going to work out, and it will not be sustainable, and you will not be putting out your best work, and you will not be joyful through the process. So I encourage you, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much you feel like you have to get these things done, to get realistic about your time and match up your available time with the tasks that you're trying to get done. That's step number one. So now that you have this idea of matching time with tasks, what do we do with all those tasks that aren't going to get done? This is also something that can be emotionally difficult for those of us that have chronically been putting more on our plate than we can actually get done, and who feel like it has to get done. So what else do I do? Well, this is where you really need to sit down and write down all the things, all the projects that you have currently on your plate, the books you're planning to write, the Etsy shop that you're starting, the Discord server, the social media, all the things that are currently in progress. And you need to start looking at each one individually, like the big kind of buckets of things that you're doing, your social media, your promotions, your Facebook ads, whatever it may be for you, and start to prioritize and say, what out of all this list can I delegate to someone else? What out of all this list can get pushed back to another time so I can get control of my schedule? And what are the things that really need to get done? And then hopefully you've pruned your list just a little bit, because a lot of us will end up having things on our list that we feel like must get done just because we saw someone else getting success with this. And there's this feeling of fear of missing out. Like, if I'm not on TikTok, what will happen? Because all these authors are finding success on TikTok. And if I'm not there, what if I miss out on my big break? And these are valid fears. Like, there are people getting big on different platforms, but the truth is you can look for any example, people that are finding success with subscriptions, direct sales, people that are good in KU, people that are publishing their books themselves, people who are publishing through publishers. There are just infinite examples of success out there. And once you start to understand that you get to create the level of success that you want, that you don't have to be everything to everyone, you don't have to be everywhere all the time, and you're actually more likely to find success by focusing in on a single platform or a single strategy than you are by spreading yourself so thin that you never actually complete anything. Once you start to understand that, that's when you'll start to take control of your career. Because like I explained in the first part of this video, when you have more on your plate than you can actually get done, you may have this great strategy of, I'm going to be really active on 5 different social media platforms. But if you don't actually consistently post to all of them, that strategy means nothing. It's the follow through that helps you get to the results. So if right now with your available time, you are only capable of following through with one platform, then you will get better results from that one platform than you would from being on all 5. Now, if you could be active on all 5 and be super consistent, sure, maybe you would get better results from that. But we cannot become something we're not. We cannot invent extra time. We cannot push ourselves beyond a level of good health and skill and capability. We cannot push ourselves beyond the level of the habits and the systems that we've already set up. So if you can get yourself to this mindset of, yes, I had all these plans, I had all these things I wanted to do, but this right here is what I'm capable of being consistent on. This is what I can say is my top priority, and this is what is sustainable for me. And you can practice radical self-acceptance with that and say, this is where I am, and I'm going to be successful with this one strategy, instead of allowing all of the noise of everything everyone else is doing make you feel like you have to be all those things and then failing at all of them, or failing at most of them, or not following through on most of them. If you can stop that and you can say, this is where I'm going to focus, and I believe in myself, and make that focus something that's sustainable for you, you will literally change your own life overnight. So write down all the things that you currently have on your plate, and then start prioritizing and start matching those projects up with the time that you have available, and making sure that you're only putting on your plate what you can currently handle as you are, not as some super version of yourself, not as some like, I will be this person tomorrow, I know I can do it version, as who you are right now in this moment, with your limitations, with your health, with your current time available. These are the things I can do. And you can always grow from there, but it is very difficult to grow from a place of, I have all this pressure on my back and I'm never living up to it. Instead, go to a place of this is sustainable and doable for me. And then I can use that as a springboard. It makes all the difference, I promise. Third step is my favorite step, which is to take the projects that you have decided you have time and energy for and break those into tiny, achievable micro tasks. If you know me at all, you know that I like to put those micro tasks onto Post-it notes, which I put on a Kanban board on the wall. If you'd like to see that, I have tons of videos here on YouTube talking about my Kanban board and how I break things down into steps. So I would encourage you to watch this video next, where you're going to get a chance to look at those Kanban boards and how I use it. But Post-it notes is how I do it, because for me, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So for you, it might be a checklist. It could be something in Notion. It could be Trello. It could be just having a daily planner. For me, I like to have it in my planner and I like to have it up on the wall, and every single micro task gets a Post-it note so that when I finish it, I get to move it down the board. And that makes me feel successful, that I say, this was a task I was meant to do today. And now I get to move it to the done section of my Kanban board. Every Kanban board that I use has a to-do section, a doing section currently in process, and then a done section. And getting the opportunity to just move that Post-it note that says, record the video and move it to the done section is like, yes, I got that done and I feel accomplished. And what happens is when we take those big projects like get the video done, or even something bigger like start a YouTube channel, and we look at how huge that feels, it can often feel like we don't know where to start, like we're clueless, like we don't have any control, like it feels like it's such a big project. I don't even know if I can be successful. It doesn't feel possible for us. But if we take that project of starting a YouTube channel, finishing a book, creating a bestseller, or whatever it may be, replacing my income, getting to quit my job, we have these big goals. But when we break those down into projects and we say, okay, first, I'm going to start with finishing this book. And that is going to be achievable for me. And I know that finishing this book leads to publishing this book and leads to making money on this book. But right now I'm just going to focus on finishing this book. But even finishing this book is so huge. So in order to give ourselves pleasure, excitement, passion, and to feel like it's achievable, break that project of finishing the book into micro tasks. I am going to write 500 words. Put that on your board, put that on your checklist. And then when you get here today and you get ready to work, you sit down at your desk, you say, okay, I've got 500 words to write. It's going to take me about 30 minutes to do it, or it could be an hour, or it could be 10 minutes. Everyone's different. But you may know, okay, I've got 30 minutes to write. I'm going to try for this 500 words. And then you actually sit down and you get it done. Woo! That feels so good. And finishing it, moving it down, checking it off is such a rush of, I actually completed this. So the third piece of this puzzle, once you have matched your time to your tasks, you have decided on what your priorities are and what you're going to focus on, that you can honestly get done in the time and energy you have available. And then you start breaking those projects down into tiny little micro tasks that you can complete in 30 minutes or an hour or one single session a day. You will start to own your schedule. You will start to build positive momentum. You will start to say nice things about yourself because you're not setting yourself up for disappointment anymore. So many of us have been setting ourselves up every single day for disappointment. We're putting a mountain, 8 hours worth of work that we're trying to squeeze into an hour. And then we're blaming ourselves when it doesn't get done. And we aren't even aware of it because we don't understand what we're doing to ourselves. So this is your wake-up call. Wake up to how much you're putting on your plate, how much of it isn't even moving the needle or making any difference in your career and is just adding stress and punishment to your life. And instead say, I deserve to be happy while I'm being productive. I deserve to enjoy the process of building my dream life step by step. And so I'm going to take a look at how much time I really have available. I'm going to make sure I'm not putting more on my plate than what I can do in that amount of time. And then I'm going to break down the projects that I know I need to complete into tiny little steps that I can get done one at a time in a single session. And I am going to build positive momentum in my life. I am going to see results because I'm actually finishing projects, and I'm going to be happier and more joyful while I'm doing it. I can't promise that this will eliminate your stress for the rest of your life. I can't promise that you won't have moments where you feel overwhelmed, because this is part of the human experience. But if you can embrace this process of not putting more on your plate than you can reasonably handle, and just allowing that to be enough, and truly accepting yourself and creating a plan that meets you where you are and that breaks it down into something that you feel and you know and you believe on a daily basis that you can actually achieve, and you start building and stacking wins instead of building and stacking disappointment, it will change your life. So those are my 3 steps. Let me know how it works out for you. If you are interested in going into this process in even more depth, where I will walk you through every single step of how to decide what your priorities are, how to take that realistic look at your time, not just across a single day, but across an entire 90 days, and then break those goals down into small, achievable tasks. I walk you through this in minute detail, holding your hand the whole time, helping you set up your goals, and making sure that you have a plan that sets you up for success. And then not just supporting you through the boot camp, which by the way starts this Sunday, but also supporting you for years to come, every single quarter, never letting go of this belief that I know you can do it, and always being here for you, along with thousands of others in our community. It's time for you to join the HB90 Bootcamp. I developed this system because I was exactly where you are. And there are still moments when I feel overwhelmed and I still put too much on my plate, because I'm human. This is not about being perfect. It's not about following a system to a T. It's about taking these types of steps and understanding how to create a life that gives you the actual ability to be successful with what you're putting on your plate, and doing your best. Not being perfect, just doing your best and learning how to love yourself in the process and have fun with it. If that interests you and that resonates with you, you've got to come join us in the boot camp. There's only a few more days to join for this quarter. So we start on Sunday. You've got until Sunday at noon to join, and then enrollment will close. So come join us right now. The link is down in the description box. And I will see you for the kickoff call, which, by the way, the kickoff call is the only live component of the course. So if you can't make it live, it'll be recorded. And then everything else is self-paced, but I will be there to support you anytime you need support throughout the course. And then every single quarter, you can come to the kickoff call for free. You can participate in the videos again anytime you want. And it's just, if I could only explain to you how much it has changed my own life and the lives of others. If this resonated with you at all and you have been feeling overwhelmed, then come get some relief from that. Come start to change your life and see your dreams come true. And I will see you in the class. So we start Sunday. I'll see you there. Otherwise, make sure you're subscribed to this channel for more videos like this on productivity and being a writer and finding joy in your life. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.